Drop it. All right, welcome to the Young Turks Power Panel. Jane Cougar, Sharon Reed, John Idarola. Sharon's on Rebel Headquarters, John's on Damage Report. We're all on the Young Turks together. We're gonna have an amazing show for you guys because we got breaking news and good breaking news. Really good breaking news. So John's gonna tell you about a potential peace deal. I'm gonna tell you about Trump's reaction to it. And then we're gonna tell you how it's not gonna happen, but it's still a good thing. Okay, so lots of fascinating things are about to happen. News just broke about an hour ago, so let's do this thing.
Man, it's always like sometimes I don't know when you're gonna come out and you're way more enraged than I think you're gonna be. Today you're very optimistic, and it's gonna be an interesting show because I am emotionally nowhere near you.
Yeah, no,
nowhere,
John.
Miles away.
No, John, I have emotions. And I am ready to display them.
Is that blue I see?
Right behind me. Is that blue I see?
There is. Yeah, no, just every development just makes me angrier, including the good news. So anyway, that's the position I'm gonna be coming from. But why don't we jump into it and we can hash out all of this live on the show. Okay. Today, in a bit of breaking international news, Hamas has stated that they are agreeing to release all remaining Israeli hostages, including the bodies of any deceased hostages, as laid out in President Trump's plan. He refers to as a peace plan. Now, notably, at least as of right now, Hamas has not explicitly agreed to other parts of the plan, of which there are many, and we're going to be recounting those as we talk about this. Here are some excerpts of the statement that Hamas put out. This is from Jeremy Scahill of Drop Site News saying, the Islamic resistance movement Hamas announced its approval to release all prisoners of the occupation, both living and the bodies of the deceased, according to the exchange formula included in the President Trump's proposal, and with the provision of appropriate field conditions for carrying out the exchange process, which Trump has referred to in a recent social media post, which we will get to. In this regard, the movement affirms its readiness to immediately enter into negotiations through the mediators to discuss the details. The movement also reiterates its approval to hand over the administration of the Gaza Strip to a Palestinian body composed of independents, technocrats based on Palestinian national consensus and supported by Arab and Islamic backing. So in terms of the hostages, they've said that they are going to go ahead with that as soon as conditions are made possible for that to happen, the cessation of hostilities and all of that. They did not say that they would give up their arms as called for in the plan. They didn't say that they would be ready to do that. But let me give you one more bit of their statement before we jump into our conversation. As for the other issues included in President Trump's proposal, these are subject to a comprehensive national position and must be based on relevant international laws and resolutions. These matters shall be discussed within a unified Palestinian national framework in which Hamas will participate and contribute with full responsibility. It would be good for law to have anything to do with anything that's happened over there, since that hasn't been the case for a couple of years. Now, a lot of people are gonna greet them talking about them being involved in this. That obviously complicates things. One finds it hard to imagine that Israel would be okay with Hamas being a participant in this government going forward. But we have a lot more of this, including Trump's comments. Why don't we jump into your initial response?
Yeah, my initial response is this is awesome. So let me break down why, and then I'm gonna tell you Trump just came out with a statement warning Israel not to do something. What was that? Hold on, we'll tell you. So first of all, very likely we're gonna get the hostages back. That's great news in and of itself, right? So everybody's wanted that from day one for the last 2 years. So if you were in that camp, which I hope that all of you were in, terrific news. Number two, Hamas is largely agreeing there in that second statement that John read to you that no, we're not going to be part of the governing body. It's going to be approved by other Arab countries, Palestinians, etc. But we're not going to be running Gaza anymore. I'm thrilled about that. I would hope that almost everybody's thrilled about that. So those are two super good parts of this. Now, the third part is, well, then the genocide should end. We should have a peace deal, right? Now, that's the thing that you should be even more excited about it. And if you say, wait a minute, I'm more excited about the 20 hostages. I'm more excited that another 66,000 people won't die, but I'm thrilled about both, okay? Now, if I believe that last part. Now, I don't believe that last part. I think Israel will either try to scuttle the deal ahead of time. I'll tell you why in a second, why I already see hints of that happening today as soon as this was announced. And if they can't scuttle it before, they'll wait to get their hostages back and then immediately violate it and go back to bombing Gaza and trying to take it. That's my guess. It's a very educated guess. We'll talk about that in a second as well. So why be excited about that? Well, I mean, look, of course I want them to stop bombing and get out of Gaza, and that would be the greatest thing of all. But I'm excited that Israel will no longer have an excuse for genocide. Now, that doesn't mean they're gonna stop the genocide, and it doesn't mean they're not going to invent new excuses. They get a bag full of excuses, and 98% of them have something to do with you being an anti-Semite, right? No, I had to murder more Palestinians. I didn't have a choice, because the whole world's anti-Semites, every American's an anti-Semite, every Palestinian's an anti-Semite. They had to be killed, and I had to take Gaza. So I don't think that's over at all. And so, and now Trump, though, is trying to make this real. So again, you could say I don't trust Trump or I don't believe Trump, but Trump's not gonna say this and wanna get embarrassed. So let me tell you this, and then we'll start to talk through, okay, yeah, but what's really going to happen, right? So Trump just wrote on Truth Social, based on the statement just issued by Hamas, I believe they are ready for a lasting peace. Israel must immediately stop the bombing of Gaza so that we can get the hostages out safely and quickly. Right now, it's far too dangerous to do that. We're already in discussions on details to be worked out. This is not about Gaza alone. This is about long-sought peace in the Middle East. So here he is now. This is the second time that Trump has said Israel must stop bombing immediately. He said it in regards to the Iran war after they got to a point where he thought it's enough, it's over. He told Israel to bring their jets back, and they did. And now he's very clearly telling Israel, you said yes to this deal. Now they're saying yes to this deal. Yeah, we have to work out details, but we have enough of a yes that you must stop bombing. So the first test is going to be, does Israel listen or go, yeah, American president, we control him. He's a stupid schmuck anyway. Just keep bombing, okay? My guess, no, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that one because it takes all of the greatest forces on earth to get Israel to stop bombing innocent Palestinians or Iranians or Muslims of any sort for half a day, right? So if the whole world now, including America, is united and you must stop bombing, then we have a 50-50 chance that they pause bombing for some time, right? So, but I'll start off the discussion of what I think is gonna happen next by saying, look guys, I think they're gonna get to some sort of deal with the Hamas, the Arabs, and America. Israel's gonna throw 200 monkey wrenches between now and whenever that deal is done in 2 days, 2 weeks, whenever it is. I don't think they'll be able to stop it. That's my best guess, but they, don't underestimate them. But the minute Israel gets its hostages back, they're gonna go back to bombing and they're gonna have a new excuse. Oh, there was a fire in the Reichstag, or there was something else and there was okay, and then my feelings were hurt, etc. right? But at that point, Israel will be enormously isolated. I mean, even way more isolated than they are today. And so if Trump then goes back to going, I am a loyal follower of Israel. I don't care about the peace deal that I constructed and I want the Nobel Peace Prize for. I don't care about it, burn it down. Well, then Trump's on a disaster course. Trump won't be able to recover from that. I know that a lot of people will find that to be an outrageous statement. No, if he goes back to supporting Israel's war and funding them infinitely and bowing his head to them, his own base is already wobbly on this issue. I think he'll be in much more trouble than people realize. Or he's gonna say to Israel, I mean, he's been threatening. Lately, there's a couple of reports saying, no, you defy me on this and you're on your own. No more money, no more nothing. I know that seems unimaginable. But now for the first time in my life, that's a maybe. And so that's kind of an amazing moment. All right, Sharon, what do you think?
Cenk, your passion, your enthusiasm, your brilliance, your analysis. It's the optimism that hasn't quite reached me here in Atlanta because everything makes sense. Except that I think there's one other reason that this won't happen, and that's the other lawmakers who are supported by AIPAC, who love AIPAC, who probably would this one time go against Trump, their dear leader. The other thing is he's easily distracted. You know, when he wants to late night truth social, and Netanyahu thinks peace is a distraction to his criminal activity. I want to believe it. I'm happy if the hostages come home, but I know this just isn't going to end well. In fact, it's not going to end. I just don't believe this is going to end. Haven't we been here before? You know the history better than I do, but haven't we been here before? What incentive? I don't even think Netanyahu really wants the hostages back. He may have milked it long enough. I actually don't. I really don't think he wants the hostages back. He's milked it as long as he can. And then, as you said, he'll make up more reasons to bomb, and then bomb some more. More food aid workers will die, more children, Palestinian will die. I mean, I could go on and on, but maybe I'm so jaded, I don't want to believe it. But right now, no.
Yeah, I was listening to you, Cenk, and I don't know that I disagree with anything that you said about how you think it'll play out. But I don't know, maybe this is kind of like how Sharon feels. Like seeing over the last hour all this develop, I just feel like, what game are we playing? Like I'm glad that the hostages are going home. They're innocents, they should have never been taken. That's good. But at the same time, like I hate that there has been literally years of not only like military action on behalf of the hostages, although I agree with Sharon, I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu, I don't think he cares at all about those hostages. I think he is a 100% complete sociopath that does not care about a single person other than himself. And many of the families of the hostages appear to believe the same thing about Benjamin Netanyahu, to be clear. And like, I saw a story, I think it was like Monday, maybe it was Tuesday. On that day alone, 27 Palestinians were killed trying to get food at aid distribution sites. And those 27 got a reference in a news story, and then that was it. It's as many people as the hostages remaining. I watched a video play on Instagram, and it was a list of all the names of the kids younger than 1 year old that had been killed in this conflict. And it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids on that list. And that's the acknowledgement they get. There's no front page New York Times story. Like, I saw a report. It was an analysis, satellite imagery of Gaza City. So they move in, bombing, killing, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then a day after, bulldozers come in. And mile by mile, they are razing every structure to the ground. They are not doing that to then give it back to the Palestinians afterward. Oh, democracy, you guys can have democracy. It's gonna be great. Oh, I don't know what you'll be living in that time because we've destroyed every single building. I don't know what the excuse will be. I don't know what the monkey wrench will be. The goal is the complete and utter ethnic cleansing of that land. As many people killed as possible, and those who remain will be put in shipping containers and sent off somewhere else on earth. The land is being stolen. They're being banished from their land. The mountain of evil that we're facing, like, and then briefly, this story like is supposed to block the mountain for me. I'm like, no, this is evil, unlike anything our world has seen. And it's just every day, it's worse. Every day you see a story that is worse than anything you could have possibly imagined. And so yeah, I'm glad that the hostages are being sent back. I don't believe for a second that he's going to pull his forces out. I don't know if Trump is deluded about that, or if this is just a distraction that's supposed to buy a couple more weeks of bombing or something. I don't, maybe he is deluded. Maybe he thinks that he's powerful enough to stop it from happening, but I have no faith whatsoever that that's gonna happen. And so aside from being happy for the hostages, and not only those hostages, but supposedly some of the political prisoners, the people being tortured in Israel, will also be returned to the Palestinian people, although what life remains for them in Gaza, God only knows. Other than that, I've got nothing but pessimism. And I apologize that it's not constructive for a talk show, but I have been paying too much goddamn attention over the last couple of years to feel good at this point.
Yeah, no, it's okay, guys. Look, we're in the middle of a genocide. So if you haven't mustered up optimism that it could get fixed, no one blames you. So, okay, now let's break it down a little bit further. So first off, I'm going to tell you other parts of the deal that are enormously relevant to what's going to happen next. But I wanted to talk about what John and Sharon mentioned, which is, does Netanyahu care about the hostages? Come on, I mean, you'd have to be the biggest sucker in the world to think that he does. But it doesn't matter if you believe that before or not, because the reaction of all of Israel's supporters online is super telling. So talk to a couple of people who are genuine and honest supporters of Israel. And by the way, there are a ton of people like that. And they genuinely cannot get themselves to believe that Israel would do something this bad, this evil about the genocide. They keep wanting to find reasons why, well, they had to, or it's bad, but with the hostages and all that stuff. So those are good folks who, in my mind, are blinded by bias on this issue. So they're thrilled today. They're like, yes, the hostages are back. Okay, or soon, we hope, right? Soon we'll be back. They're thrilled that Hamas is not going to rule Gaza. That's a normal reaction if you're Israeli or you're a genuine supporter of Israel. But the online bots and trolls are furious. I said, oh, terrific news, for example, on X. We got a deal and Hamas is going to give the hostages back. And every Israeli bot and troll is like, no way, dude, you're so Hamas supporter. I'm like, I'm thrilled that Hamas is not going to rule Gaza. So why are you still why are you furious? And they're all furious. They're like, no way, this peace deal's not gonna happen. You're not gonna return the hostages. This is terrible. I'm like, that is super weird reaction.
And telling.
If you're an Israeli supporter, because real Israeli supporters are not having that reaction at all. Right? So the bots, trolls that are obvious, like if you don't know that Israel's doing massive bot troll campaigns in social media, hey, welcome to planet Earth. Okay, by the way, mainstream media like, oh, this sounds conspiratorial. Meanwhile, Netanyahu's like, we're buying TikTok, we're gonna get pressure Musk on X, and I got my influencers and I'm paying them $7,000, and I got Trump's former campaign manager as my husband chief, and he's now a registered agent of Israel, and we're gonna control everything. He's saying it on tape, right? Yeah. And so mainstream media is like, what? No, anti-Semite. Okay. Anyways, maybe Netanyahu's the anti-Semite. Well, by the way, no one has made Israel look worse. You shouldn't put it on Jews, but he does often. Oh, Jewish state, oh, blame Jews for me, and uses them as human shields. No one's driven up anti-Semitism more than Benjamin Netanyahu, one of the worst people of my lifetime, if not. Anyway, I don't want to get into a competition who's the most evil person. He's certainly in the running, that's for sure. Okay, so what's in the peace deal? Well, among the things, other than the things we discussed, there's also Israel cannot annex Gaza, and the Palestinians cannot be kicked out of Gaza. They can leave but come back, and Israel must allow them to come back, okay? So now, is Israel really gonna do that? That's why I'm saying, and that's why John and Sharon, don't get me wrong, I don't disagree with their pessimism on whether Israel's going to follow through on this deal. That's a near 0% chance. And by the way, if you're a good person who loves Israel and just can't get themselves to believe that this country that they love and feel strongly about has done terrible things, and you thought it was always to get the hostages back and for self-defense, and you were sure about it, and you were sure that we were wrong and bad guys and whatever. Let's see what happens next. Because no. Today, if you're an honest person and you've been thinking that Israel's doing the right thing all along, and you're not a bot or a troll or an evil person, you just really believe it. If Israel gets the hostages back and then violates the deal and keeps bombing the Palestinians, if you have 1% honesty left in your body, you will then realize, oh, it was never about self-defense. And no, Netanyahu never wanted the hostages back. He wanted an excuse to create greater Israel and to take that land. And that is the point of killing so many people in Palestine, starving them so that they're gonna wanna leave, otherwise they and their children are going to die. That was the whole point of leveling the entire place and destroying almost every building in Gaza. And so I don't know if they can muster up the sight, the objectivity and the fairness after Israel violates this deal to go, you guys were right, I can't believe it, but this country that I love has gone on a super dark path, etc. I don't know if that is possible. By the way, for me, Yeah, for me, it's super easy. If Israel doesn't violate any of the peace deal, and they go, hey, you know what? Great, I love it. We got our hostages back. Terrific. We're getting out of Gaza. No more bombings, no more annexation, no more occupation. Like, yeah, they're not gonna immediately do a two-state solution, but hey, we're on a pathway. It'll take forever, but at least we're not annexing Gaza, and the war is over and the genocide is over. Oh, I'll give them credit. I'll say, well, I was wrong. I thought there was no chance, but I was wrong. I'm willing to say that because to me, that's easy. I do news. I care about what's real, what's true, what the facts are. I'd be curious to see if they acknowledge that, okay? So now, finally, guys, this collision course is super important because if I'm right and Trump actually kind of does mean it and he does want to get credit and he does want to win a Nobel Peace Prize and he really wants Israel to stop bombing, which I think that there's at least a 50% chance he means it, based on inside reporting as well. He's going to be on a collision course with Netanyahu's hubris, because I think he's a runaway freight train. I mean, bombing Doha, Qatar's capital, if you don't know foreign policy and diplomacy, that's not your job, right? But that is full-blown mental. That was so beyond anything else they've done. And if you're thinking, why? I mean, the killing of the civilians is way worse. Yeah, but not in international relations. In international relations, bombing an ally of the United States where the US has a base and trying to murder the peace negotiators that they were hosting, that makes every country in the world despise you because think you will not follow any laws. Any laws. That means no one is safe from Israel, and Israel will murder anyone anytime they want. That bombing Qatar was crossed a Rubicon in a way that an average person might not see if they don't know about foreign relations and how countries deal with one another. So that to me says, and that's, by the way, another reason why there's now been huge pressure for Israel to take a deal like this and stop bombing. But to me, it also shows, no, Netanyahu is unstable. He's never going to stop. He is an actual literal genocidal maniac. And so he will go back to bombing. And then what's Trump gonna do? Is he gonna assert American independence for the first time in our lives from Israel? Or is he gonna go back to bowing his head? And that will tell you everything, not just about Israel and Gaza, but also about what's gonna happen in America and in American politics. All right, last couple of words, thoughts here. Sharon, what do you think?
When you talk about Netanyahu as being a runaway freight train, I think you said unhinged. To me, like, isn't that everything though? Okay, Hamas, thank goodness, is not gonna be part of any kind of government there. But as long as Netanyahu is, I mean, I read a Jerusalem Post poll. Of course, the majority of the Israeli people don't trust him because he's not trustworthy. And unless there can be something where he kind of exits and he's never going to exit, doesn't that kind of tell us how this is going to go? And if Trump, 50% chance that he'll, maybe for a moment, perhaps get tough and mean. But again, he just gets distracted. He won't go the distance. There's too much at stake. I want to believe, but for now, I'll just say, good. Maybe there'll be a few less nights of bombing, a few hostages will be returned, less children will die for a little while. But I still can't go further.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think that Trump wants Jared Kushner to build casinos. I think that's the goal. Maybe he thinks that peace is a way to get to that, but what I do not think any one of these people we're talking about care about the Palestinian people have any self-determination. I just don't. And this story is just so frustrating. Like the bounds of the conversation, what we're allowed to expect or to ask for, just seems so ridiculous, and it always has been with how biased the media is in this topic. I talked about how certain people's lives are discussed 1,000 times more, and that just does not make sense to me. I care about the lives of the hostages. I do not care about the lives of the hostages more than an equal number of Palestinian kids. I just don't, and I know that I'm supposed to. I know that you're supposed to value their lives 1,000 times more than any of these goddamn uncivilized Palestinians, but I'm just not gonna do that. Yeah, and the fact that we are stuck in this pathetic position of like, maybe they ethnically cleanse every inch, or maybe they back out and the Palestinian people temporarily get to live in an absolute Mad Maxian wasteland before Tony Blair and international developers set up a resort there. Why is that? We were just talking about all the endless war crimes Israel's committed. Why do they not have to rebuild Gaza for the Gazans? Why is that not a thing? Like coming out of World War I, reparations were paid. Obviously there were some negative historical ramifications that later on. Why is nobody expecting that Israel is going to have to in any way pay for the intentional murder of tens of thousands of civilians? Bombing every country in the region, an obvious war crime. Why is there no consequences for that? Why do they not have to invest a couple $1 trillion into rebuilding the homes that they needlessly destroyed, intentionally in pursuit of ethnic cleansing? But nobody's even discussing. I understand that just who's gonna actually push for that. Obviously the United States isn't going to, but would that not be something like justice? But no, kill as many people as you want, commit as many war crimes as you want. And the only consequence, and I know that we're looking desperately for any consequence, is like a drop in public perception. And that's it. That's it. There's just no law. There's no consequences internationally. And so again, I don't want to down. It's some good news or whatever, but just it's a depressing day for me.
Yeah. So I don't want people to get the wrong impression. Last thing is, look, it's not that I think, Trump has now developed an affinity for Palestinians or to treat people equally and value the sanctity of life. No, he's bombing random Venezuelan fishermen right now, trying to start a war with Venezuela. No. So why do I think Trump has a 50% chance of actually following through on this and insisting that Israel follow through, and if not, maybe even losing our support for 3 reasons all related to him? John, you're not wrong. Yeah, he wants to build casinos there. The way to build casinos is not through Israel, because no one will accept that. He already tried. They already went and like, okay, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, you guys good with us killing all the Palestinians, moving them out, building Trump casinos? And they're like, no, we're not good with that at all. You'll have massive problems if that happens. He's like, what if I build them with you? They're like, oh, okay, maybe, right? And he's like, okay, good, sounds good, all right. So then we'll get the Qataris in, the Saudis in, and then I'll build my casinos. Number 2, he badly wants a Nobel Peace Prize. And if you can get peace in the Middle East, you get 2 states, you will win the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, an actual 2-state solution that actually gets implemented. Now that's very down the road and unlikely, but still, he's looking for that Nobel Peace Prize for himself. And the third reason is because his base is turning on him. The younger right wing are now beginning to loathe Israel. And every time Trump bows to them, they get angrier and angrier. So for his own self-interest, and that's why the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Tucker Carlson's flipping makes a big difference, because it gives Trump another incentive to defy Israel. And if you're an American politician, you need overwhelming incentive to defy a command of Israel, because obviously Israel in this country controls almost all of our politicians and almost all of our media. And if you don't believe that, you're a giant sucker. Or you're purposely lying on behalf of Israel. Oh no, that's a trope. When they give millions of, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars to 90% of Congress, that's not to influence them in favor of Israel at all. No, that's just general, because the Israelis love America so much, they just wanted to give to our politicians. You'd have to be the dumbest person in America or a national media reporter to believe that. So Trump needed all of that to even have a chance at defying Israel. And so here we are. We don't know that he's gonna do it, but today is the beginning of potentially a great day. If they follow through, we get the hostages back and they get out of Gaza. That's in terms of Hamas. That's already a huge win, guys. And then we'll continue the fight for justice and peace. All right, we're gonna take a break here and we'll be right back. back on the social break here. Let's go to our members at tyt.com. Bloated Ego says, hey, Cenk, if I'm wrong and you're right, that would be a great day. I'm not holding my breath, though. Yeah, look, I often make terrible predictions here, and unfortunately they become true, 98% of the time, and I'll often say, I hope to God I'm wrong, right? And on this one, I'll say, Israel breaking this deal is approximately 102% likely, right? So I hope I'm wrong, right? But on the rest of it, let's hope that for the first time in a while that I'm right, that parts of this lead to a positive outcome. Okay, CK Progressive says 10/7 anniversary is on Tuesday. Should we expect anything big to happen, and if so, good or bad? Well, given this situation and Trump saying to the Israelis, you're not allowed to bomb anymore, I don't know what happens. I don't know if the Israelis defy that, which would be really foolish, in my opinion. That would be very poorly played. But on the other hand, these days, they're not, in the past, they've been brilliant strategically. Now Netanyahu's like, I don't care what anybody says, let's bomb. So there's some chance that guy's a literal lunatic, like an escaped mental patient. So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. But and I don't know what Trump's gonna do if they do defy him and they continue to bomb. Trump's a wild card. So we're gonna find out. Don Dada Dragon says Trump's lost his younger independent conservatives. That's right. That's why one of the reasons why he's now going in this direction. Plastic Brick Dragon says happy pre-weekend, everyone. Also, Cenk, I appreciated the interview last night, even if it scared the crap out of me. Not a reality I'd want to live in. Yeah, I interviewed Pastor Doug Wilson, and he's for Christian nationalism, and explained how that would work. It was a long, super interesting hour-and-a-half interview. Check it out when you get a chance. If you're a member, of course, you can check it out anytime you want. tyt.com/join. It's like, yeah, oh no, yeah. If I had it my way, you wouldn't be allowed to represent anyone. You're not Christian. Okay, and many other issues. Oh, gay people, that's it. My favorite part, you'll see it in the beginning if you check out the interview, is he's for anti-sodomy laws. He wants to bring those back. And I said, so that's anal and oral, and for gay and straight people, right? And he's like, no, oral for straight people should be fine. Anyway, check it out. Kelly Case's prediction: Israel will claim there's a Hamas hotbed growing in the West Bank, which is why they will have to annex the entirety of it as well as the Gaza Strip, because they will say it's a violation of the peace deal. Oh yeah, of course. The first lie is going to be Hamas violated the peace deal, right? All right, we'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, John, Sharon with you guys. And look at all these wonderful new members that hit the join button below on YouTube. Hi, so we have hi on our side. That's awesome. How to, now we know how to everything. Because once you join the Young Turks, look, you're one of us. And you appreciate honesty, open-mindedness, open-heartedness. So I love it. Thank you, man, for being part of the TYT community. All right, Qualcor, Koisa Serve, Mitter and Ellis, and in Liberty and Guns We Trust. And he wrote in on a super chat as well and said, I'm a libertarian and I greatly respect your channel for being on the side of good during the genocide. You're a light in the darkness. Palestinians deserve liberty like all humans. Can't keep giving super chats, but sub to the continue to support your message. Nice. Well, I appreciate you, brother, in so many different ways. Most of all, though, for being open-minded. All right, John.
Okay, let's jump into this.
Under our leadership, the military is now the knife's edge in combating this sinister enemy. We have to put the traffickers and cartels on notice, and we've done that. And we've put them, a lot of them, we've called them a terrorist organization, which is actually a big thing to do. Nobody's done it, but I've done it with a lot of them. It gives you a tremendous advantage. If you try to poison our people, we will blow you out of existence, because that's the only language they really understand.
Yesterday, it was announced that Donald Trump wanted to do some sort of like challenge mode run on his quest for a Nobel Peace Prize by notifying Congress that the US is now officially at war with the drug cartels that right there in that video he referred to as terrorist organizations. So now we have the war within against liberals, got to root that out, and externally, any boat that looks at us wrong in the Caribbean also needs to be blown up too. So Cenk, he's pushing for peace in Gaza. At the same time, we're in another war, this time with drug cartels, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that Trump is going to regret this more than you would imagine. And I think that after he leaves office, people are gonna look back at this and go, wow, of all the things he did, this might be one of the worst and the most illegal. And so I want to talk about why that is. So back to you, let's get more details and talk through why.
I think that's a great point because they have not really articulated any legal underpinning for what they've been doing. This attempts to set up something like one because it is basically formally declaring war on a non-state kind of non-actor. So they sent a confidential notice to Congress saying that Trump had decided the US is engaged in a formal armed conflict with drug cartels. His team has labeled terrorist organizations despite the lack of like terrorist acts or anything like that. And that suspected smugglers for such groups are unlawful combatants. Trump is determined that cartels engaged in smuggling drugs are non-state armed groups whose actions constitute an armed attack against the United States. Again, it's an armed attack despite the lack of arms. And it cites a term from international law, a non-international armed conflict that refers to a war with a non-state actor. And the notice says, based upon the cumulative effects of these hostile acts against the citizens and interests of the United States and friendly foreign nations, the president determined that the US is in a non-international armed conflict with these designated terrorist organizations. So what's the point of all of this? What does this actually get for Donald Trump? He implied in that video that it gives us certain advantages to apply these labels inaccurately. Trump's move to formally deem his campaign against drug cartels as an active armed conflict means that he is cementing his claim to extraordinary wartime powers. In an armed conflict, as defined by international law, a country can lawfully kill enemy fighters even when they pose no threat, detain them indefinitely without trials, and prosecute them in military courts. Those last two parts probably aren't that relevant because they're very intentionally not taking any prisoners and just blowing up all of the boats. By the way, there was a fourth that they just did. Earlier this morning, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced that they had blown up a boat with 4 people on it off the coast of Venezuela. And Trump said it was carrying enough drugs to kill 25 to 50,000 people. I mean, then seize the boat, demonstrate it, show us all of the dangerous drugs. They have refused to do that in any of these cases. And maybe it did have drugs on board, and maybe they were cartel members, or maybe they were tuna fishermen. We'll never know because they kill all of them rather than capturing them. It was 4 people on the boat. He may not have enough faith in our Navy to take that boat. I think our Navy could have gotten that done actually. I have faith in our Marines. I think that they could have actually taken that boat. But anyway, open question as to whether any of this is legal. More interesting philosophical question is whether the question of legality versus illegality means literally anything anymore. I don't see why it would. But what's interesting is that he's implying that because the drugs that might or might not be on the boats come into the country and Americans die as a result of it, that's the same thing as a cartel member wielding a gun and shooting people. So if you release a dangerous product into America and Americans die, you can be summarily executed by the United States military. And if that is the case, gas up the B-52s, because there's a lot of Sacklers out there. They've got a death toll many tens of thousands long, but I guess that one doesn't count because they've donated political money. In any event, Cenk, it's exciting times.
Yes. So first, a quick clarification on Trump's absurd comment, and then we'll talk about why this is so problematic. So he said in that little boat with the 4 people that you guys saw was enough drugs to kill 25 to 50,000 Americans. The number of Americans who die every year from drug overdose is 87,000. Now that's a tragically high number, but so Trump is saying that tiny little boat had enough drugs to kill half the people who die from drug overdose in the country per year.
Well, then look, next year the stats are going to show half as many people died because he took out that vote.
Next year it's going to be down to 40,000 or 30,000. So like, look, even if you like Trump, why do you tolerate his madness? Like these obvious, over the top, ridiculous lies, right? So, okay, now that's a small part of this story. Now, the biggest part, guys, look, we can't just pull on Israel and go, there's no laws anymore. So, oh, you're in international waters? I don't care, I'm gonna kill you anyway. We're not at war? I don't care. I'm gonna pretend that we're at war with Venezuela. We're at war with Venezuela? When did that happen? And wait a minute, if it's based on drugs, why aren't we at war with Colombia that sends in way more drugs? Tren de Aragua was a terrible gang. You saw us calling out Tren de Aragua, and then some people on the left telling us, oh no, they don't really exist in apartment buildings, whatever. We had that fight. We think they're a terrible gang, okay? But they actually are not big narcotic traffickers. So,
Jane, clarification, I apologize, I should have mentioned this. In this order, he did not mention any specific cartels. It's just cartels. We're at war with some, we have no idea. They're not even saying.
We're at war with.
They didn't say Tren de Aragua.
Yeah, we're at war with words, including the word cartel. Okay, you're on notice. No, but reason why that's important, guys, is because when you're at war, you have to say, okay, here, we have declared war, we're at war with this country or this terrorist organization, here's what's allowed and not allowed. When you say, I don't care what's allowed and not allowed, what you do is, number one, you're endangering Americans, because then the other side gets to go, well, you killed people without any justification, without any war. You killed people in international waters. You killed people without any regard for international law. So obviously I can do likewise, right? So maybe China does it to Taiwan and goes, you have no reason to complain. Maybe other countries start doing it to us, right? Now, okay, we have a big military, we can fight back, etc. But what winds up happening is you're creating chaos. So now Israel's not following any international laws. They're bombing all the foreign capitals. Now America's not following any laws. We're murdering people without any evidence at all that they did anything wrong. Because guys, think about it. If this is as dangerous as Trump says, oh my God, they're gonna bring it on. Somehow they're gonna fit in like just a tanker, several tankers full of drugs on that tiny little boat, right? And they're gonna come in, etc. Then great, then you must have amazing evidence on that. Like give us a shred of evidence that there's even drug dealers on that boat, let alone anything else. Nope, no evidence. Well, why won't they give you the evidence? Because they don't have it. They're bombing random boats in international waters, murdering everyone on board. 11 people dead in one of those bombings. 4 people dead in another bombing. That's not okay for the US to go, we're not following international law anymore. Now we reserve the right to murder anyone we like with no evidence at all. That is a super dangerous precedent. It's gonna come back to bite us and the whole world. And yes, it's deeply illegal to murder people that you have no right to kill. And so, look, we have been principled throughout. When Obama killed Anwar al-Awlaki without getting any kind of judicial approval on that, that was an extrajudicial killing without due process. And we called him out super strongly on that. That was totally unacceptable. So we're not playing partisan games here. So Trump doing this, you might think, I don't care about Venezuelan fishermen or drug guys or whoever the hell they are, and we'll never know who they were. But that's not the point. The point is this is deeply immoral and illegal, and it's a problem for the whole world. Sharon.
Yeah, it is, and it makes me think that little misstatement he had not long ago saying 300 million people were killed by drugs or whatever the nonsense is, when it was at the time, 75,000, you said 87,000 perhaps, but it wasn't 300 million. Maybe that wasn't a misstatement. Maybe it's a beautiful distraction, and if the people who follow him will believe it, then he can continue to blow up fishermen off the coast of Venezuela or wherever else, and we won't know unless our shrimp prices go up. This is insane. On the one hand, he is seeking the Nobel Peace Prize. On the other hand, he's blowing up things. For what reason? Maybe to keep Epstein disclosures at bay, who knows? But he's all over the place in extrajudicial ways, and it sucks, and it's gross, and it's gonna be done to us.
The only other final point I want to make is this is a massive dodge. Let's say that you care about that really high number of Americans that die from drugs every year, which depending on which year, it's 50,000, 60, it's 80,000. It's a lot of people. That's not from random drugs from a speedboat. The vast majority of those are legally prescribed drugs that are pushed on them. But the people who are doing the pushing are not in some speedboat off the coast of Venezuela. They're gonna be dancing in Trump's ballroom in a couple of years. These are very powerful, very rich, very well-connected people. And Trump is telling you effectively, don't think about that. Don't think about the fact that they can give financial incentives to doctors to inspire them to push drugs on people more. And we're gonna make people so desperate that some of them are gonna take drugs as a result of that. Don't think about any of that. It's the scary brown people in a boat. That's it. Don't challenge the elites, challenge a random person on a boat in the Caribbean. That's another thing that I think is getting lost in this. It's very convenient to his donors.
Yeah, one last super quick point for me, because it's really important you know this. Why are they even doing it? Because they parked like half our naval forces in the Caribbean next to Venezuela. And so they're trying to goad Venezuela into any kind of response. And if they so much as crush a bug on its way to an American ship, they're gonna be like, that's it, they started it, and they're gonna attack Venezuela.
Yeah.
This is from the anti-war president? Nah, this isn't even close to anti-war. We're obviously trying to start this war, and it's disgusting. And if you're wondering why, Venezuela has a lot of oil, and our oil companies would like that, get their hands on it.
Yeah. Well, why don't we take our second break and we'll get to more after this.
All right, let's go to Super Chat. ACGC says, so Israel bullies every country in the Middle East except for Pakistan. Is it because they have nuclear weapons as well? I bet it is. Yeah, I mean, it's harder to bully a nuclear country. That's why they're desperate for no one else in the Middle East to have nuclear weapons, so they could bomb them whenever they like, kill them anytime they like, and bully and intimidate them anytime they like. I don't want either side having nuclear weapons, but too late on the case of Israel. Oh wait, how did Israel get their nuclear weapons? Oh right, our special greatest ally stole it from us. They stole our nuclear secrets. And then afterwards, our deeply corrupt politicians who work for Israel gave them like another $200 billion. I mean, imagine Iran steals our nuclear secrets. We're like, great job, Iran. Would you like another $200 billion?
Here's a tip.
Yeah, okay. Anti-Semite. Yes, it's a joke now, a total utter joke if you're using that to defend the sick actions of this current Israeli government. Rage Rock for now says, great panel, love this trio, thank you. Qualquer Kwasa Serve, who I will probably get your name wrong the entire time, says the world is watching Israel take American money to corrupt American politicians, lie and censor the people, and now Israel wants Americans to pay to rebuild what Israel destroyed. Don't be naive. Oh, no, of course. No, we're not naive about that. And to John's point, of course Israel's not gonna pay for it. Even if the world said, Israel, you're the one that destroyed all of Gaza, you have to pay for it. They're like, oh yeah, no problem. America, give me money, let's go, you gotta pay for it. Shut up, anti-Semite. Give me the goddamn money, okay? Now pay for all the things I destroyed. Did you just complain trope? Okay, their supporters actually do sound like that, okay? So not all of them, but the ones online are nuts. Mara the People says, hey TYT, what is a TYT tip line, email, phone? We have an email, pitches@tytnetwork.com. Pitches, do not get stitches here. Okay. Anyways.
Should have guessed that was coming.
Yeah. All right. YouTube members. Valentia SL says, I love this panel. You all rock. Thank you for bringing the news in an unbiased and at times comical way. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. Oh, this is a good question. Andy Meon 2300 says, wonder what would happen if the cartels donated to Trump's presidential library. Or if they gave him a nice, plane or not. They're like, hey, don't bomb the boat. Don't bomb the boat. We'll give it to you. You might be like, we like the cartels now. You know what? I'm making peace with the cartels. I won't bomb them anymore. No, but peace price. Big T, the pyro guy, says, here's to another 57 months. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but at least we get amazing power panels like this. Sharon's always welcoming voice of truth. Here. A log cabin president, Dallas chapter, says, I just kind of have a theory that people don't want this to be over. They don't want peace because they love to have something to be angry about. That's not right. Well, there's other reasons why some don't want it to be over. I would love for this genocide to be over, and I hope all good people would. We'll be right back. All right, back on TYT, Jenk, Sharon, John, and no LBP. Thank you for hitting that beautiful join button underneath the video on YouTube. Everyone, you could also join at tyt.com/join. And there you actually get a couple of months off from an annual subscription. So check that out at tyt.com/join. John.
Okay, let's mix things up, starting with this.
The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
So that right there is Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick stating very confidently that Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed prominent Americans with videos of their sex crimes, which is noteworthy because, of course, the official line from the loyalist-led FBI and DOJ in the Trump administration is that there is no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. And as a result of that, just shut up about it. There's nothing, there's no clients, there's nobody else, it was just him. There was nobody else, we don't need to look into it. But he's very confident that no, there were other people involved in this and they haven't been named. So obviously they haven't been brought to justice. So one would think, shouldn't we try to find out about those people? And if there were all these tapes, well, where did the evidence go? He continued on talking about that.
So what happened to those videos? Why is there now such a dearth of information when, Donald Trump's people are running the FBI and the DOJ?
I assume way back when, they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits and be out of jail. I mean, he's a serial sex offender. How could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? It must have been a trade. So my assumption, I have no knowledge, but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
That is interesting. It is a good point. A serial sexual offender getting just 18 months. I mean, normally in America, you'd get many years, or maybe you'd become president, but one of those two things, not just 18 months. And so again, it's interesting that Howard Lutnick, I don't know if it's just in pursuit of clout, like he wants to look tough on this issue when people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have bowed their heads to the cover up. But even in that clip, he's saying there was a cover up. There's these powerful people, and we just want to hush all that up. So we only give him 18 months, and he doesn't reveal it. And then suddenly he turns up dead. It's all very suspicious, and yet, according to Pam Bondi, according to Donald Trump, there is nothing to see here. And this is coming out of a very prominent member of the Trump administration in good standing.
Yeah, I have a conspiracy theory that I'm going to push here that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm just going to throw it out there as a piece of speculation and get your guys' thoughts on it in a second, okay? So I always want to be clear on what's facts and then what's analysis, and then the last layer is speculation on things you don't fully know, right? But it's worth discussing. So first of all, though, before I get there, he said something interesting there. He said, I assume that they gave him that cushy deal in exchange for the tapes. Well, that would mean that we have the tapes, and Howard Lutnick is in the Trump administration. So why doesn't he go walk down to the White House and go, guys, where's the tapes? Like, we should probably look at those and then maybe prosecute the people in them, because he seems like, if you take him at face value, he seems like he's genuinely kind of outraged and creeped out by it and thinks there was probably blackmail. And so now it's a possibility that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were just doing blackmail for themselves, and that's how they got some of their money and lived a good lifestyle, etc. Right? Is it also possible that it's a blackmail operation called a honeypot scheme? Well, I mean, who runs honeypot schemes? Oh, intelligence agencies do. In fact, I interviewed a former undercover CIA agent many years ago, and she said the #1 go-to move is honeypot schemes. And honeypot, if you're not familiar, is what you might think, which is set people up to have some sort of illicit, wrong sex so that you could have that on tape and threaten them with it, right?
It's a win-win.
Yeah, well, it is for them, I suppose. So anyway, so if it was blackmail, then there's an excellent chance that it was an intelligence agency. So there's only really two options, CIA and Mossad. So that part is, we don't know yet, but a lot of evidence points in that direction, including what Lutnick just said. So the speculation part is this. When Trump was defying Israel, all of a sudden there was a ton of news reports out there about, oh, Trump could be in the tapes, or Trump could be a client. Oh, look, there's Trump's letter to Epstein. That just showed up right in the middle of Trump defying Israel. Because if you don't remember, Trump cut them out of a couple of deals. The deal to release an American hostage that he did with Hamas. He did not consult Israel. He told Israel to turn their ships, their jets around while they were bombing Iran. And he made a deal with the Houthis and cut Israel out of it. And all of a sudden, Trump, Epstein came out. So now, a lot of his advisors, they don't give a damn about him. They're just in it for themselves, right? And he's a convenient guy that they're using. So here comes, Trump saying Israel has to do a 20-part peace plan where they leave Gaza and do not annex it. And we've got an interview all of a sudden back to, hey, there are tapes. I wonder who's on them. So am I sure about that? Not at all, guys, not at all. Lutnick might be super close to Trump and he's just speculating like a normal person. I would speculate in a very similar direction. So we don't know enough yet. But I tell you partly ahead of time, because if Trump really is saying to Israel today, as he's put out on True Social, you are not to bomb Gaza anymore, and then it's not just Lutnick, and you see 2, 3, 4 other stories of Trump and Epstein again, then you'll know, oh, I see how this game is played. But we don't know that that's gonna happen. Now it'll be interesting to watch. Sharon, what do you think?
And this is just a theory, right? Because I don't know, you kind of convinced me already.
We don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Something's not adding up here. I think you might be onto something. I was gonna start by saying I don't know if Lutnick's gonna be so close to him after this, but yeah, gosh, I don't even know. It's disgusting, all of it. And if he had that, it was so gross listening to him, illustrative way of just describing it all. There's so many other people who know about this. Well, I'll say a select club. I don't know. Sorry, I just don't know.
Yeah, he was being a little bit creepy, but he was also creeped out. It was strange. I wonder if he feels the same way when he has to hang out with Trump and Hegseth. Like, is it generally sex predators make him feel uncomfortable? I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, the only other thing I wanted to add was, while I think it's important, especially for anyone watching this that might be a Republican or MAGA or whatever, like, there's gonna be a lot of attempts to distract you from the fact that Donald Trump is desperately trying to cover all this up. And I think it's clear to all of you that that is the case. He's not the only one doing it, okay? We mentioned Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, loyal soldiers in the cover, but also Mike Johnson, because they still have not sworn Adelita Grijalva in, because again, they do not want her to sign on to Massey and Ro Khanna's discharge petition. And so they're gonna hold out as long as they possibly can just to stop those documents from ever coming out.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, look, last thing's obvious. They have the tapes. Of course it was blackmail. You don't tape people and then not use it as blackmail. What, did they just use it for fun? Okay, oh look, there's a gross old 60-year-old guy. Let's watch that again. No, it's for blackmail. Of course. So don't let anybody say like, oh yeah, I bet they don't have anything. Whether it's the Democrats when they're in charge or the Republicans when they're in charge. So this is how they've destroyed trust in all institutions, with super obvious lies like this.
Yeah.
All right, wow, we are out of time already. Jeez, Lord mercy. You know, you get one peace deal announced, and next thing you know, it swallows up the show. Okay, all right, guys. Everybody's checking out Sharon on Rebel Headquarters. You're also checking her out on Indisputable. That's on the TYT now. Or you just, you know what, you go to tyt.com, and you're gonna get it all. It starts with Damage Report, then it goes to Indisputable, then it comes to the Young Turks. Good news, there's a 24-hour channel. Did you know that? We rolled the whole 24-hour channel. You get it in a lot of places. You might be watching us on Samsung, Roku, so many other, YouTube TV, etc. But you can also get it on tyt.com if you don't have any of those platforms. But if you're watching on those platforms, they're a perfect place to watch. Super convenient, and we love them. All right, so we got a second hour coming up, and this is really important. TYT exclusive, and it's a new strategy that Israel seems to have to target average Americans who dissent from Israel, not even criticize Israel. If you say you're pro-Palestinian, it appears they have a new strategy to get you fired. Not media, not politicians, the average American. It's an amazing story, and we have the exclusive on that. We'll do that when we return. Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like. tyt.com/join and enjoy this. You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitzing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny Pie. I said it was live stream.
But I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members.
Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Cenk. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Such a big fan. Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, aka Woke Bay.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. Referred to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool, rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
Drop it like it's a hot TYT exclusive. All right, back on the power panel, new power panel for you guys. Cenk Uygur, Senator Nina Turner, great to have you back. Always a pleasure. Jordan's also here. I'm playing the role of John today. No, Jordan Ewell, of course, on Rebel Headquarters, host of the Insurgents podcast. So, all right, we got an amazing hour for you guys. I'm gonna present the first story, so let's get started. So this is a TYT exclusive. A friend of the show sent me this story. He runs a company and he got a curious email just the other day. And it said that it was from Alec Walker. Okay, we'll talk in a minute about whether that's a real person. And they wrote what seemed to be a professional email complaining about something happening at the company. They said formal complaint regarding employee behavior. Now, if you run a company, that's a very important thing and a serious matter. So you look into that seriously, and that's why they frame it that way. And obviously, we took out here the name of the company and the employee that this group was targeting, right? So I'll fill in Acme for the company and Jane Doe for the person, right? So they say, dear Acme team, I'm writing to formally file a complaint concerning the behavior of one of your employees, Jane Doe, as exhibited on her social media platforms. Interesting. For an extended period, they continue, Jane Doe has publicly shared content that promotes hate and intolerance towards the United States, Republican values, Israel, and right-wing Colombian political parties. These actions are clearly visible on her social media accounts, particularly her Facebook profile, which I have linked below for your reference. As a US citizen, I find such conduct deeply troubling, especially given that she represents a professional and reputable company like Acme. As a serious and respected company, I trust that Acme will take this matter seriously and address the behavior of its employees in a manner that aligns with the values of professionalism, respect, and tolerance. Thank you for your attention to this issue. I look forward to your prompt response and the appropriate steps being taken. Kind regards, Alec Walker, concerned US citizen. Okay, let's pause there for a second. Now, this email is curious in several different ways. The brother mentions twice, remember, I am a US citizen. Is that how people normally write an email to a company? They're like, hey, Nike, I'm really upset about the Colin Kaepernick thing. And remember, I am a concerned US citizen. Okay, so look, these are all little flags until you see what she is accused of in a second specifically. But so that's a little bit of a red flag. The second red flag is, why are you trolling and through the social media account of one of my employees when you got nothing to do with the company? That's weird, right? And so that doesn't normally ever happen, but this is an outside person who claims to care a lot about this company, but has never interacted with the company before, not a customer, not related to the company in any way, shape, or form. But this outside person, Alec Walker, is very upset about what Jane Doe is doing. So now, if you're a company in America, you have to take that very, very seriously. So this company did, so they looked into it, and they actually inquired further. They said, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We take matters of conduct that violate our values and principles very seriously. Can you send us screenshots of the content you're referring to that you feel promotes the hate and intolerance towards the US? We are unable to see them because they looked through her social media and they looked through her Facebook that was linked in that original email. They found nothing about Colombian parties. They found nothing insulting Republicans or America, but they did find one and only one thing: that this person had changed their profile on Facebook to include the Palestinian flag. Now, the Palestinian flag is not an insult to Israelis or Jews or anyone, although sometimes the zealots in Israel say, I mean, the idea that the Palestinians would be human enough to have sovereignty over a state, no way. They're violent savages and they never should have a state. By the way, that is the official position of the Israeli government. They voted on that and said the Palestinians should never be allowed to have a state. So this person is a person that's totally random, not in media, not in politics, not in public life at all. So what it appears that they're doing is they are sending, look, do I know that it's created by AI? I don't. But does it look like it's created by AI? Yes. So the reason why, if it's created by AI, it's so important is they could send millions of these. They troll through social media accounts of all of you guys. And if they find anything that's even just supportive of Palestinians as human beings and them having rights, that's it, they're gonna try to get you fired. So if there's one of these emails, that means there are very, very likely thousands of these emails at a minimum. Because look at how slight the theoretical offense against Israel is. And then there's a subterfuge. Oh, I'm worried about Colombia? I'm worried about her attacking Republican values? No, this is only about Israel because of the flag. Guys, that means that Israeli interests are coming for you. And so sometimes you'll see people saying that on TV and I'm like, really? I mean, somebody criticizes Trump. What does that have to do with whether they're gonna come after a random Republican family in Missouri? Or about, you attack Biden, but it's not coming after Democrats. No, this is it appears to be a concerted effort to target the average American who would dare to dissent about Israel and get them fired. That is beyond disturbing. So let's talk about it. Now, Senator Nina Turner's from Ohio, and she was a state senator there. She also ran for Congress from the Cleveland area in Ohio. She was targeted by the Israeli lobbies, Democratic Majority for Israel, among others. So, but Nina, when you were targeted, you're in politics, and you kind of expect AIPAC to come after you if you think Palestinians are equal to Israelis. Like that's an unacceptable thought for them. And you did believe that. This seems to be taking it to a whole new level. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with that, Jink. And no, I did not expect them to come after me like that. I mean, when I served in Ohio Senate, AIPAC or DMFI, those lobbies weren't, swirling in our universe in the way they do when you come on the federal level. I mean, I was absolute, Jink, and you were there and others are just mortified by the fact that just because I think that there should be justice and security for both peoples, that somehow I crossed the line. But I'll put that in the parking lot. Jink, I always sign my emails concern US citizen. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't know I was a bot. I mean, that's how I sign all my stuff. is concerned U.S. citizen. No, but seriously, no, we should all be concerned about this and the fact that the media itself is never going to draw attention to this mainstream media. So thank God for TYT. The fact that the ultra wealthy are gobbling up and infiltrating the social media spaces that we have. So that makes independent media like TYT even that much more important. And yes, if they target this person, they are coming for the rest of us. And for the love of God, I do not understand why the Congress wouldn't want to regulate this kind of stuff to protect free speech. But I guess free speech depends on who you're talking to.
So Jordan,
or talking about.
Yeah, well, certainly. Jordan, if there's one of these emails, now we don't know that there are others, but likely there are, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely. And it goes just beyond emails. Canary Mission, other groups like that, Batar, they have been assembling websites with full directories of campus activists who have publicly supported Palestinians or been critical of Israel. And these are not to keep tabs on actual hate or anti-Semitism. It is to try to prevent these people, once they graduate college, from ever getting hired. They're using employment, they're using economic stability as a tool to try to suppress this movement, and it's not going to work. Unfortunately, the Trump administration has relied on those directories to find foreign students and target them for deportation. But I'll tell you what that looks like for citizens who are on there, because it's not just Israel that they've done this for. There was attempts to suppress people for being critical of Trump during the first administration. And I can tell you that from experience because it happened to me. I was working at an HBCU in Washington, D.C. shortly after Trump took office. I wasn't involved in politics, but I was using my social media accounts to talk about politics, and I was very critical of Trump. Somebody emailed the dean of the law school that I was working at to try to get me fired because I was critical of Trump. Now, when they came to me, the dean obviously thought that was ridiculous because they weren't going to crack down on my speech because of my viewpoint. They understood the law. And what that did was it inspired me to be more active. Now, flash forward to today, because in part of my social media use, I'm sitting here looking at you. So I can tell you, this is not going to work. Trying to suppress people's speech is only going to make them louder.
Yeah, look, if I'm a regular average American and some country tries to get me fired for saying I'm against a genocide, and by the way, they didn't even say that in this case. All they did was the deep moral crime of apparently of putting up a Palestinian flag on their social media profile. And that was referred to as hateful in this context. Guys, folks like this don't have any power. They lose that job, they're in a world of trouble. They can't make their rent, they can't make their mortgage, their family's screwed. Why? Because a foreign government decided that they needed to be targeted and canceled and their lives ruined for daring for a microscopic disagreement with a foreign government. And so, and to the point that that you guys made, look, this, as always, we explain super clearly because, and I'll show it to you with evidence. This has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with a government. So Israeli interests also targeted not just Nina Turner, not just Marie Newman, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, Tom Massey, etc. But they also targeted Andy Levin, who is a Jewish American who just said he wants a two-state solution. He's totally pro-Israel. They're like, not good enough. You consider the Palestinians human enough to have their own independent state, and they spent $4 million making sure that he lost. There was a group called Masada 2000 that created a list of 8,000 self-hating Jews, according to them, and tried to get them fired. So this has been going on for a long, long time. Now it's reached an industrial scale, and I'm afraid the way that this email is written, that they might be using AI to put it on just a total nationwide scale where they try to eliminate almost all of Israel's enemies down to normal, average Americans that have absolutely nothing to do with politics. All right, Nina, last word?
No, I'm just thinking America first. You know, what happened to that? I don't get these American firsters. They should be outraged that because no other foreign government would be able to do right-wing government or left-wing. No other foreign government would be able to pull something off like this, Cenk and Jordan. So I'm really confused. I am.
Yeah, but to be fair to them, for the MAGA America First guys under the age of 50, they're gone. They do hate this, and they are being consistent and principled about it. And so, and that's why Israel's in a little bit of trouble. But hey, people have already started writing in saying that they might have similar stories to this among our members. So if you have a similar story, pitches at tytnetwork.com. Pitches at tytnetwork.com. All right, we're gonna take a quick break here. We'll come right back with more news. All right, back on TYT. Let's go to Super Chat here. Konstantin Kavira says, I hate to say it, I was unemployed for over a year and avoided posting anything political to social media. I'm a contractor now, easy to get rid of, and this makes me afraid to say anything. I feel a bit of shame over that. No, Konstantin, don't feel shame over it. We understand everybody's got to do what's right for them, their family, etc. The people who should feel deep, deep shame is the government of Israel, the sick people that are doing this campaign to try to get to hurt the average American on behalf of a foreign government, and it's intolerable, totally intolerable. I can't wait for my country to be free of any foreign government. And yes, and especially Israel that has exercised such terrible power here in America. So. Michael Cotavelli says, Barak Ravid reporting Netanyahu views Hamas's response as rejection of Trump's plan, needs consultation with US on a response, so it doesn't look like Hamas answered positively. So no, Michael, Hamas answered positively. They said, yes, we will release the hostages. Yes, we will not rule Gaza. We are gonna work on the details, so it's not complete. If they said it's not completely over, and we're gonna have to finish out the details, that makes sense. No, Israel never wanted this peace plan. Trump pressured them into it. They hate the peace plan. They don't want the hostages back. And that report by Axios proves it, because Hamas says yes, and Israel goes, God damn it. No, they mean no. Now all of American media and all of our dog politicians, you have to say that yes means no. Yes means no. When Hamas says release the hostages, that means they're gonna kill the hostages. Hamas is lying. So here comes Israeli propaganda, because Israel is a warmonger country right now that loves war and genocide, and that's just a fact. That's what they're doing. They've created endless wars, this 2-year genocide that's sick to its core. And so of course Netanyahu is gonna go out and go, oh no, I can't believe they want the peace deal. I don't want peace. And that's Netanyahu, and that's Axios planting that story, so now everybody in mainstream media can go, oh no, it doesn't count. Now our daddy Netanyahu told us it doesn't count. So I'm curious to see how mainstream media will react. Anyway, Diego Shomet says, Cenk, today my dad said he was wrong to judge you for talking with Marjorie Taylor Greene. After I interviewed you online, he said he could never agree with her. He does now. So that is fascinating. Guys, one of the reasons why I love this development of the right wing beginning to come to some of our positions, et cetera, not just because they're coming to our positions on some issues, because we're breaking down the tribalism. We agree on so many things. It's that the people up top don't want us to agree. They wanted us at each other's throats. So the fact that we're getting past that is awesome. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Nina, and Jordan with you guys. And Arif Kamal, thank you for joining through the join button on YouTube. And Ice Dragon, thank you for donating on TYT.com. So guys, look, we stopped taking donations last year. We appreciate everybody who helped. You guys have carried us for so long and we love you for it. But I am 100% open to it again. I don't know that we're gonna push it so much, but if you guys do donations, thank you very much and we'll take it. Why? Has it been easy from a business perspective, given how many fans of Israel there are in this country and how it's affected our business? Yes, it has been difficult. So thank you for your help, and we do appreciate it. And unfortunately, we do need it from time to time. All right, George got the next story.
As the AIPAC brand becomes increasingly toxic thanks to the genocide Israel is committing in Gaza, some Democrats on the Hill are finally starting to get the message and backing off of their cozy ties with the Israel lobby. The New York Times has an article highlighting this phenomenon, but it created some drama. And now AIPAC is trading barbs with Representative Ro Khanna. But before we get to that, Cenk, is the shift in the Democratic Party that we could be seeing surprising to you?
Oh, it's shocking. I can't believe that there are Democrats who are now beginning to dip their toe into defying AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. They're not fully defying them, as you're gonna see here, other than Ro Khanna and a couple of other brave people. But overall, they're in the middle of getting caught. And I kind of love it. So give us the details on how they got caught and then Steny Hoyer-Ro Khanna fight, which is super interesting.
Yes, definitely. So let's look at some of the polling data. As you can see, Democratic voters' sympathy for Israel has plummeted as of late. It's gone from 34% down to 13%. Meanwhile, support for Palestinians has grown. This is the first time in the New York Times poll since 1998 where sympathy for Palestinians has surpassed that of sympathy for Israel. So some Democratic politicians are finally now starting to catch on, like we mentioned, and they're starting to distance themselves from the stink of AIPAC, starting with Hakeem Jeffries. He's long been supported by AIPAC and has taken over $1.7 million from them over the course of his political career. Charlemagne the God recently dubbed him AIPAC Shakur. Jeffries attempted to hit back at him, saying, "Charlatan the fraud has no idea what he's talking about." But anyways, Jeffries recently made an interesting shift. He accepted an endorsement from J Street, a liberal Zionist advocacy group that's been outspoken in criticizing the current Israeli government. Their president said in August that he now believes what's happening in Gaza may be a genocide. And Jeffries isn't the only one taking a step back from AIPAC. 3 Democratic members of Congress who had previously relied on AIPAC as a top campaign contributor have said over the past few weeks that they would no longer accept donations from the group. Representatives Morgan McGarvey of Kentucky, Deborah K. Ross of North Carolina, and Valerie P. Foushee of North Carolina. Then there's Representative Maxine Dexter. AIPAC poured over $1 million into her Democratic primary against Shulisa Jayapal, Pramila Jayapal's sister. Nonetheless, Dexter recently said the United States must halt the transfer of offensive weapons to Israel and ensure immediate, sufficient, and sustained humanitarian aid into Gaza. Democratic attendance at AIPAC's annual propaganda trip to Israel has also been dwindling. One Democrat who did attend this year and continues to defend Israel at every turn is Steny Hoyer. and we'll get to him in a second. But first, Cenk, some of these other ones, while backbenchers for most of them, or rank and file Democrats, are you encouraged even by Jeffries aligning a little bit more with J Street than AIPAC?
I mean, God, it is microscopic movement, but it is movement. So first, let's note for the record that Hakeem Jeffries is so lame. Charlatan the fraud. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't try to go back and forth with Charlemagne or anyone else. You're just gonna get humiliated, okay? AIPAC Shakur is like the greatest nickname of all time. And you're trying to come back with Charlatan the fraud, please, don't embarrass yourself, okay? He always does these silly things, right? You guys remember the picture that he put up with the bat? Like, oh, I'm ready for the Republicans. What are you gonna do with the bat, tough guy? What are you gonna do, use it? You gonna hit somebody with it? Are you even going to do anything to object to the Republicans? So please. So look, he's taken what, close to $2 million from AIPAC? So he works for AIPAC. That's why Charlemagne gave him that nickname. And so if you're a mainstream media reporter and you're the kind of idiot who thinks, oh no, politicians aren't affected by $2 million. Okay, I mean, go be a plumber or a dentist, do something useful with your life because you're obviously not a reporter. That's a ludicrous thing to say. So why were all of these Democrats before like tripping over themselves to, oh, I want to go to Israel, I want to go to Israel, I want to help Israel, I want to vote with Israel, oh yes, Israel, because they're getting bribed. Now it's legal bribes, it's campaign contributions, but also don't forget what happened to Nina Turner, who we're gonna hear from in a second. They also, that's the carrots or the bribes and the trips and all that stuff. By the way, if you go to Israel and you're a US politician, do not do anything wrong in the hotel room. If you think the hotel room's not bugged, you're so unbelievably dumb, okay? So anyways, and now we've got a situation where they're like, oh, okay, we'll just maybe start to tiptoe out of the room. And they're waiting for the genocide to be over and then they'll rush back, oh, give me the money, I'll do anything. But the thing they're most worried about is what happened to Nina, which is AIPAC then goes, oh, I didn't just give you 50,000, 150,000, 500,000. You defy me and I'm gonna spend 2 million, 4 million, 8 million against you. So Nina, what do you think about this movement within the Democratic Party?
And 20-something million against you, just ask Congressman Bowman. I mean, they definitely used Ohio 11th as the test case in 2021, well before October 7th. You could not, and Cenk, I've certainly shared with you and maybe some of the viewers of the types of calls that I got from Israel firsters threatening me, saying I had to disavow the squad. I wasn't even in Congress, trying to hold me responsible for what the squad had said or not said that they did not like. I mean, those were the kinds of threats that I got when I was running in 2021, only because I said that Palestinians should have self-determination, they should have rights, and that both peoples, both Israelis and Palestinians, should have safety and security. That was a bridge too far, and they absolutely told me that they were gonna come at me with everything that they got. And even after my election, you see the leaders of the Democracy for Israel, or whatever the hell that name is, Cenk and Jordan, interview and say, yeah, we did this in Ohio 11th and we're coming to a neighborhood or a district near you. And that's exactly what they did. As far as a leader, Jeffries, he is absolute joke. All he cares about is being the next Speaker of the House. You know, these people get no credit. I'm glad, let me back up. I am glad that some of them are starting to see the light, but did it take the slaughter of hundreds of thousands of people for you to see the light? Did it take the starvation of millions of people and the destruction of what little land they had for you to see the light? So although Jordan and Cenk, I am glad that Democrats are moving. They're moving at a glacial pace. And for me, they get very little credit, if any at all. You should have been over here in the first place. And the Democratic Party, I don't know what the hell they doing on the national level. What is the vision to provide provision? I don't get these people. They should say that no Democrat should take dark money from NRA, the National Restaurant Association, because they believe in the sub minimum wage, the other NRA, the National Rifle, so all of those things, AIPAC, none of those groups, any of those dark money groups should not be allowed to donate to any Democrat in the primary if they were really serious about turning this thing around. You cannot, and I am a witness, stand up for your district. The person who ultimately curried their favor so far has gotten $4 million from them. And Jink, as you laid out, if people think that the owner donors don't yank these people's chain, we got something to sell you. We got a bridge to sell you. It is disgusting. It is un-American to allow any foreign agent, foreign entity to dictate who will lead in a district in the United States of America and to pour that kind of money in. And let me just go ahead and pour this on here. And to be especially anti-Black because they come after Black leaders even that much more harshly, and then other people of color. And as Jenkins, as you laid out, they will come after Jewish folks too who stand up for humanity. And Hakeem Jeffries came into my district too.
Yeah.
No, the
George,
J Street
real quick,
endorsement.
Sorry, just real quick along those lines. I think that there's a reason why they come after Black folks and Jewish folks more, because when Jewish Americans oppose Israel, it ruins the anti-Semite card, and that's their one-trick ponies, right? They love to do that. But when Jewish Americans go, no, I think that Palestinians should have a state, it hurts their talking points. And so they want to pretend that they're speaking on behalf of Jews when in reality they're speaking on behalf of foreign government. And why do they come so much harder after Nina Turner, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush? They spent more money on them than anyone else. I think that they're worried that if minorities in America sympathize with Palestinians and realize that Israel is being over the top racist to Palestinians, saying they can't govern themselves, they should have no sovereignty, they shouldn't have the same human rights that other people have. We occupied them for 58 years, now they're committing a genocide against them. But no, that's not racist. No, the real problem is the bigotry against us. Oh, I'm worried about anti-Semitism because you won't let me continue to kill 20,000 Palestinian children, right? So the idea that Black folks in this country and minorities in this country might sympathize and join forces with the Palestinians really concerns them. And that's why they go so hard against African Americans who support Palestinians.
Hard, and one more point, I do want to thank Jewish Voices for Peace, both national and also the Cleveland chapter. They were right by my side every step of the way. And I just thank them so much. They were such a bright light for me during both the special election of 21 and then the regular election cycle of 22.
I think in this case with Jeffries, this J Street endorsement will probably play out different than we've seen in the past, simply because I think AIPAC and the pro-Israel lobby knows he's going to be on their side in the end. And like you pointed out, he's interested in becoming speaker, and they know deep down if he becomes speaker, they want to have a cozy. Everyone's going to want to have a cozy relationship with him because they need that access. But how it's played out in the past has been interesting. Like California 47, the primary last cycle, Dave Min versus Joanna Weiss to replace Katie Porter. Dave Min accepted an endorsement from J Street, and AIPAC, through their United Democracy Project, their independent expenditure group, spent over $4 million attacking him. He couldn't figure out why, other than he took that endorsement. So that shows how AIPAC operates. You have to align with them 100% or else they'll go after you. So how does that play out in cases like Steny Hoyer? Well, the New York Times article we've been citing brings up Steny Hoyer, who's one of the Democrats who has not gotten that message on AIPAC, and probably because he's taken over $1.8 million from them. In AIPAC, in August, AIPAC posted this video of him during his trip to Israel. Take a look.
I've been to Israel now 22 times, and we've just spent a week here. And what we found is, contrary to world opinion, Israel has been doing everything it possibly can to ensure that there's minimal damage to civilians who are not part of Hamas's army. Unfortunately, the world is not seeing that. And one of the things I've tried to tell the leadership in Israel, please get that message out, because the world has got a view that I don't think is accurate. I think the Israelis have responded with a resolve and courage that is an example to the world.
Maybe people think that because Israel has killed tens of thousands of civilians. But Representative Ro Khanna responded to those comments last night, writing, Steny Hoyer, your comments are why our base thinks Democratic leaders are out of touch. It's hard because I like you, but the old guard is why our numbers are in the tank. It's time to be bold and speak this blunt truth, and for a new generation to lead a rebirth of our party. Then AIPAC attacked Khanna directly, tweeting, says it's all about his policies. At Ro Khanna is mad his colleague got the facts firsthand. Here's another inconvenient fact for Representative Ro Khanna. He hasn't taken a single action that has increased the pressure on Hamas to free the hostages and surrender power. Why not? And Khanna replied, Rep. Steny Hoyer, did you really call AIPAC to defend you? And you wonder why the majority of Democrats are fed up with our leaders and are done with the status quo. Step aside and make way for new leaders. AIPAC responded again, saying facts really undermine his push for the US to adopt policies celebrated by Hamas. Cenk, they've played the Hamas card. I guess the debate is over.
Yeah. Hey, note to AIPAC, we don't give a damn about your stupid smears. Oh, he's Hamas, he's a terrorist, he's an anti-Semite. That boy cried wolf so many times. No one believes you, you bunch of losers. You're pathetic in your attempt to buy our Congress. But only people more pathetic are people like Steny Hoyer. What was that? That looked like a hostage video. But I'm sure he does it voluntarily because he's been groveling to Israel his entire career. Why? Yeah, when you get $1.8 million, you work for the person who gave you $1.8 million. This is not complicated. You'd have to be a brain dead national media reporter to go, oh no, I bet he's doing it because he thinks Israel really is a model for the rest of the world. They should all genocide a different race that's right next to them. They should keep them occupied as hostages and servants for 58 years. They should take their land. They should starve their children to death. What a great model. I bet Steny Hoyer really believes that. In fact, I'm a little surprised that the New York Times even wrote this article.
Oh yeah, amen to that.
Yeah,
and you, man, I'm big ups to Congressman Ro Khanna for pushing back on these people. You know, even Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I got to give it to her, Cenk. I'm telling you, Cenk, Jordan, I never thought I'd see the day. But MJ, she and I, we agreeing on two things: that Epstein list and how the Israel lobby is really, has taken over our government and just fighting back. You got all that money for war, but yet people in this country are suffering, and people who are among the working poor suffering disproportionately. I mean, when you have people call your phone and tell you they don't care about what you're running for in your own district, 1 in every 2 children in the city of Cleveland, by way of example, live in poverty. And I had them folks tell me that me and the person who was next closest to me in terms of the competition, because it was 11 people in the race, only really 2 of us really competing hard for it, that there was no difference between us domestically. So you fixed your mouth to say that 2 black women are pretty much alike on domestic issues, but it was only where we stood on Israel. When I asked them about the poverty in Cleveland, what was happening to the working poor, small businesses, they said that was not their interest. Their interest was Israel. So I said, let me get this straight. I am supposed to run for Ohio 11 and put a foreign country over the needs of my district. I want the TYT audience to understand this. And I believe, Jordan or Cenk, it was Congressman Massey who did an interview. I don't know who interviewed him, but he said that they all were assigned people from AIPAC. Yep. I believe he said that. He told the truth. He revealed. Yeah, this is real. This is real. And it's sad. It's anti-American.
So it was, just to clarify, it was Tom Massey. I believe he was on with Tucker Carlson, and he said that every member of Congress on the Republican side had AIPAC or some sort of Israeli babysitter, and that's usually called a handler. right?
Yes.
And he said, I don't know if the Democrats do, but very, very likely they do. Marie Newman came on the show, former Democratic Congresswoman from Illinois. She voted against Israel when they asked for another $8 billion on top of all the other money that they'd taken. And she said 4 Democratic leaders came up to her and started yelling at her, red in the face, saying, how dare you oppose Israel? We're gonna take all your money away. And we're gonna make sure that there's an opponent that is funded against you. And by the way, that's exactly what they did. They did take the funding away. They did fund an opponent, and she wound up losing. So they keep wanting to send this message. So that's why Steny Hoyer looks like a hostage there, but he's been a voluntary hostage for them for all this time because he's greedy and he's corrupt. And I want you to understand, if you don't know this, Steny Hoyer has been the number 2 to Nancy Pelosi and number 2 in Democratic leadership for a long, long time. This is not an insignificant backbencher. He is Democratic leadership. And remember, 92% of Democratic voters think that Israel is wrong in what they're doing in Gaza. But Steny Hoyer, a leader of the Democrats, comes and goes, I don't care about 92% of my voters. Israel, where's the money? AIPAC sent me the money. So I can't stand corrupt US politicians like that who sell us out. They sell out the Democratic Party, they sell out Democratic voters, they sell out this country for campaign contributions and so they could retain their power. He sickens me. But guys, good news. There's at least one guy right now in Congress, Ro Khanna, who's fighting back. Him calling out Steny Hoyer is not a little thing in Democratic politics. That is gigantic that he had the courage to do that, because you will get attacked full force from not just politicians, but also from the media. And Jordan, let's also note for the record that Steny Hoyer then went and ran to mommy and cried and said, AIPAC, help me, can you attack Ro Khanna for me? So that's a classic cheesy, corrupt politician move.
Yeah, I think it's insulting, and it shows how stupid that politicians like Steny Hoyer think that you all are. You can see the realities, what's happening in Gaza, but he is trying to convince you that everything's okay because of a propaganda trip. But also I want to point out one final thing. So Senator Turner pointed out how her opponent in that race and the money flowing in wanted to prioritize Israel over the interests of Cleveland. And Max Miller in the adjacent district, big Israel supporter, said he wanted to turn Gaza into a parking lot, said Palestine doesn't even exist. That, if roles were reversed, would lead to censure in Congress. But despite this, despite the victor, Chantel Brown in that race, and Max Miller both prioritizing Israel over the interests of Cleveland, Max Miller is calling for Trump to occupy the city of Cleveland. So maybe if they had somebody like Senator Turner in there representing the district, putting the interests of people of Cleveland and all of these other districts first, where you have people who aren't going to put Israel first, they're going to put their own constituents first, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation where you're having the economic conditions, when you're having all of these different existential crises affecting people being exploited by an authoritarian leader and an authoritarian government for these crackdowns. You'd be a lot better off if you had somebody who wasn't worried about another country in there fighting back against those attacks from people like Max Miller.
All right. All right, we're gonna take a quick break here, guys. When we come back, we've got a lot more news for you guys, including about the flotilla, what has happened to those folks, so stay right here. All right, back on TYT. Let's go to Super Chat. Elliot says, great, then Hoyer should have no problem living in Gaza for a week. Oh, he would crap himself. Yeah, I mean, if they're such low, the Israelis are being so lovely to the people of Gaza, why don't you go stay in Khan Yunis. It was a weird slip. Khan Yunis for a little while, or Gaza City for a while. Oh no, of course. You know that they're dropping random bombs on people, murdering citizens on purpose. The other day, they shot a doctor with a drone right through the window for no reason, just because they're terrorists. Christina Alyssa Brown said, thank you TYT staff and hosts for fighting and inspiring. Thank you. No LBP, who just joined, said, Black Pearl Dragon, you, Bernie, and Anna are my heroes. Please run for Senate. We love you so much. All of us got your back.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of love for Nina out there. I'm going to share more in a second. Konstantin Kaviris wrote, and I donate to TYT again. I'd love another chance to talk to Cenk. Heck, I'm a member and I don't even use the membership. Well, bless your heart, brother. But by the way, being a member, you are using it because you're allowing us to do the show. If we don't have members, the show doesn't even exist. So you're keeping us on the air. We appreciate it. Richie Rafferty is a YouTube member and wrote in, I'm sending a written letter about how you, Cenk, Anna, frankly, the whole network saved my life. Including the wonderful community. You can share it after I send it. Too much to explain here and now. Well, Richie, thank you for saying that. Appreciate it, brother. And if we had anything to do with it, then that's the kind of stuff that makes life worth living. And all of this stuff, going through all this pain and fighting off the powerful, worth it. So thank you, brother. Jeremy Kingsbury says, I've served in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's insane to me that this is being allowed to happen to the Palestinians. I thought we were supposed to be the good guys in this world. Well, that's why we came here, to be the good guys, but unfortunately our politicians are so corrupt now. Randy Fine ate my handle, wrote in, come for me, Israel, I'll be all right, I'm a TYT member. Damn. Florida Pixie Dragon says, Nina, love you. Amy Meganson says, yay, Nina. So there's more in a little bit from that. Tiny Dog Dragon says, if they fire you, how did they get your taxes to pay for the war? Oh, that is going to be a problem for them. And then in TYT.com, Wind Spirit Feather says, yay, Nina Turner, love you, Nina. Don Dada Dragon says, companies reprimanding me over free speech sounds like the reason we threw the tea in the harbor. Yeah, that's a great point. Salt of the Union says, what was the TYT pitch email again? I think personally I know the person that's doing this. Oh, super interesting. Pitches at tytnetwork.com. Spider-Man Dragon says, who knew Israel was HR for the world? And Boomer Dragon, I'm out of time. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Jordan, Nina with you guys. Real quick, Eclectic, thank you for donating through tyt.com/join. We appreciate you, brother. You could also join through that handle, obviously. And I was just about to read Kat's statement. She's a member on tyt.com that wrote in. She said, I'll be right back. I need to put a Palestinian flag on my profile. I love that. Thank you, Kat. Appreciate it. And Brett, WF24, and Mike Z, thank you for joining through YouTube. Love you guys. Jordan.
Take a look at this.
אלה הטרוריסטים של המשט, אלה הטרוריסטים, זה טרוריסט. תקל עליהם, תומכי רוצחים, אגב, האוניות שלהם נמצאו קרחנה שלמה. הם לא באו באמת, לא למשט, לא לעזור, אלא הם באו בעד עזה, בעד הטרוריסטים. אלה טרוריסטים.
That's Israel's far-right national security minister Itamar Ben-Gvir attempting to humiliate and smear members of the global Samud flotilla who were illegally captured by Israel on international waters earlier this week. But we can report that spirits are high, although they are being deprived of necessities, and Israel is already engaging in abuse. The Israeli Navy on Friday intercepted the last of the 42 vessels trying to break the maritime blockade on Gaza as part of the global Samud flotilla. with the foreign ministry saying it had deported 4 activists so far out of 470 who were detained trying to deliver symbolic humanitarian aid directly to the war-torn Strip. That clip you saw at the top was Ben-Gvir taunting the activists shortly after the IDF captured the majority of flotilla members. He also posted on X that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's decision to allow them to return to their home countries is a mistake. I think they must be kept here in an Israeli prison for a few months so they can smell the scent of the terrorists' wing. After all, it cannot be that the prime minister sends them back to their countries again and again and again, and this sending causes them to return again and again and again. Now, lawyers representing the flotilla members offered the following statement. Upon their kidnapping from international waters, participants were forced to kneel with their hands zip-tied for at least 5 hours after some participants chanted "Free Palestine." During the lawyers' visits, Israeli National Security Minister Ben-Gvir arrived in what was clearly intended as an act of humiliation and intimidation. Participants' rights were systematically violated throughout this process. In addition to being denied access to water, bathroom, and medications, they were denied access to lawyers, which violated their basic rights to due process, fair trial, and legal representation. Yesterday, while the whereabouts of the flotilla volunteers were unknown, the lawyers were left waiting for about 9 hours outside the Ashdod port and were not notified when Israeli immigration authorities began processing and conducting hearings, learning about these illegal processes only after the detainees called them directly. Despite repeated denials of entry by Israeli police, Adala lawyers eventually managed to access the port and provide consultations to the 331 participants. Several participants reported being subjected to aggression, threats, and harassment, including being woken up violently whenever they tried to sleep. Flotilla members are now being held in an Israeli prison near the border with Egypt. Lawyers representing the flotilla crew are still demanding their swift release. And on a personal note, we talked on the show earlier this week. One of my friends was on one of these boats, and I had to scroll through that video slowly multiple times to see if I could see him, to see if he was okay. And we're sending all of them our best because what they did was absolutely courageous. Cenk.
Yeah, so first of all, the rest of the world should live in shame for not joining that flotilla. Spain and Italy briefly sent ships to make sure that they were safe, but then they withdrew. And the entire world should be sending a flotilla, and they should dare Israel to attack a French ship, a German ship, etc. Letting those people starve because the terrorists in Israel want more land is disgusting. Speaking of terrorists, and Ben-Gvir was calling those wonderful people, the most moral people on earth, terrorists, is actually literal convicted terrorist. He was convicted in 2007 in Israel of supporting a terrorist organization. So that was even before he got into the Israeli cabinet and then started doing terrorism on a mass scale. So the Israelis have an 83% civilian kill ratio, far worse than Hamas, Bashar al-Assad, and literally any conflict in recent memory. They kill more civilians as a percentage than the worst terrorist group there is, and they've killed at a much greater scale and mass. They've already murdered 66,000 people, over 66,000 in Gaza. Over 20,000 children have been murdered by terrorists like Ben-Gvir, and he dares to call moral people who are trying to help folks in the middle of a genocide terrorist because he is terrorist scum. He's one of the worst terrorists I've ever seen in my life. Nina.
And let's talk about the killings along the West Bank too, where Hamas is not. This don't believe your lying eyes. And the fertility, Cenk, the idea about having other countries send, that should be happening. Big ups to even Christian Smalls, who was on a recent flotilla and he got beaten, and I just, people like him and others who are out there right now, the immense courage, as Jordan laid out, that it takes to literally put your body on the line for other people's freedom. Man, that's everything. It really, really is. And the tide is turning, as we know. Not fast enough for the people who are enduring the suffering, But when this history is written, the United States government itself, starting with the Biden administration to this Trump administration, man, it is not going to be kind. But when it is written about courageous people like the people who are on that flotilla and people who are standing on the front lines in this country, the younger people, well, the college students and others who were, out there last summer standing up for the Palestinian people, it's gonna be written kindly.
Yes. All right, so we're out of time. We've got a bonus episode though, so you don't want to miss that because there's an amazing story about how the Israeli lobby picked Marco Rubio and Tony Blair. What did they want to do with them? How much money did they give them? We have all the details. That is just an absolutely amazing story. So hit the join button below on YouTube or tyt.com/join, and we'll see you there in a minute.